Fever Ray, Radical Romantics, album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Fever Ray, aka Karen Dreyer, one half of formerly The Knife, who I was such a huge fan of in their heyday. And for some time now, Karen has been releasing some solo work under the name Fever Ray, and their self-titled debut, I don't think it gets enough credit. This album, to me at the time, was so good. It was just the right balance of really textured, even beautiful at times, but also just the right amount of totally freaking out there, man. Now, it took some time, but Karen did follow that up with the Plunge album, and I know a lot of people had very strong feelings on it. People loved this thing, and I thought it was just an okay follow-up. It was okay, but for me, it wasn't nearly as much of an immersive experience. It was certainly still out there. Karen is still genuinely one of the more interesting faces in modern synth pop and art pop, but I almost felt like Karen was just, I don't know, not giving it at all. Now, we have not heard from Karen in quite some time. This is the first Fever Ray project in quite a few years, Radical Romantics, and I thought the singles were pretty solid leading up to this thing. Let's chat about it. This album starts off with What They Call Us, and you know what? It's a great friggin' intro. I love the hell out of this track. I love the way that this track just kind of slithers along. It just creeps along. It's one of the slower paced tracks here, but it's done really well. And Fever Ray's performance is the perfect balance of totally out there, but kind of kinky. And if you are a fan of Karen or the Fever Ray name or the Knife's name, you're not surprised by that at all. I love the booming beat. The atmosphere here is so good as well, but there's also a quiet intensity to this track that's done really well. Fever Ray has never been much to, I don't know, hold back, and this intro is killer. I do think overall this is a much more immersive album. As a matter of fact, the first 4 or 5 tracks here are killer. Shiver, on the other hand, is even more freakish, more off-kilter, more left field. And I would have it no other way. I hate to keep bringing up, the Knife's music, but this track is probably the closest thing you're going to get to that this year. But that's a good thing. I love the sort of weird groove that we get here, the sexual undertones. Also, this track is dripping in personality. While later tracks on this album don't hit me as hard, this whole thing from start to finish has oodles of personality. As far as the groove goes, this track gets me moving, which I can't say, a lot about most synth pop these days, but this is great. New Utensils is even farther out there, but as this album goes on, the grooves get really a lot harder, but a lot stranger as well. And as an album, I think, once again, this is a much more immersive experience, but also we see Fever Ray taking more risks than usual, which is hard to even wrap my head around just because Fever Ray's music has always been pretty far out there. But the production is very impressive, and tracks like this are really memorable. I mean, I'm still kind of let down that this maybe isn't as like dark as the first Fever Ray album, but still, this is great. And Kandy was the first single of this album that I was introduced to, and I still love it. I love the warm rhythms that we get here. It does break things up nicely. It's also very sexualized, which is nothing new for Fever Ray, but this track in particular is done so well. The way this track progresses, it's so easy to lock in. It's just so easy to drift off and listen to this track. I think it's the best track here. Sadly, though, overall, I still find it hard to really, I don't know, since that first Fever Ray album, I still feel like I fully can't commit to this as a project. There are some pretty boring moments here, and that's sad. Like, take for example, Even It Out. This ain't it. This track, almost everything about it just seems so dime a dozen and rehashed. The slow, bulkier beat is just not hitting me, and Karen's vocal performance, not the best. And Looking for a Ghost is just boring. Instrumental-wise, this sounds like it could be literally anyone in modern synth pop. This doesn't even sound like a Fever Ray track anymore to me. This sounds like it could be wrote by anybody. It's getting more annoying than anything, and Karen's vocals, especially in the second half, are just getting worse. It's far from the complete package. Neither is North. This is one of the slower, more atmospheric tracks. This track really does creep along at a very steady pace, and as far as the atmosphere goes, I do really like it. but I don't get the same vibes anymore. Yes, this is a weirdo electro jam, but it just doesn't have that same cutting personality. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just fully can't commit to this project, and I feel bad saying it because there's so many great moments, and I do still think it's worth a listen. Like, if you're gonna go out of your way to listen to one track here, make it Carbon Dioxide. This is a journey of a tune. It's one of the more progressive here, and it is completely fearless. And it is once again absolutely dripping with personality. Did you expect anything else? This track is absolutely wild. It sounds like a mission statement, not just for this album, but for Fever Ray in general. And by the end of this track, it's practically Europop influenced. It is a weird track, but it's a freaking banger. And Tapping Fingers may be my favorite deep cut here. This track is so freaking cool. This is how you do the slower paced, steady, sort of tortured track from Fever Ray. This has all the eccentricities, all the weirdo vibes, but it is also, once again, one of the more immersive, just really seriously focused experiences that I've heard here on this album. But then we get Bottom of the Ocean as a finale, and my feelings on this are so torn. I mean, I had my reservations going into it. It's a plus 7-minute track. I mean, this instrumental is so freaking dense. I can just close my eyes and escape immediately. It is instrumentally probably the most interesting and captivating track here. It is freaking cool. But over that, we have Karen improvising almost to an obnoxious level for over 7 minutes. It takes away all the mystery and intrigue from this track. I had such high hopes because instrumentally it's so freaking captivating, but it ends up being a letdown for me. Yeah, I'm not completely sold on this album. There are certainly great moments that show why Fever Ray is one of the more interesting voices in modern art pop and synth pop, but there are also just as many moments that seem unfocused, underutilized, just not well thought out. Like I said, there are moments here that's some of the most creative and forward-thinking synth pop that you're going to hear this year, but I don't think Karen sticks the landing at the end of the day. I've been kind of on a lukewarm streak with Fever Ray since the debut album, and this album isn't helping my case at all. Sorry. I really wish I loved this album, but for right now, I'm feeling a decent 6 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.